Hi, it's Verity here from my YouTube channel and blog Pretty Little Button, where I make paper crafting tutorials for the everyday crafter. So today's card features one of the stamp sets that has just been released from Catherine Pooler Designs in the beautiful New Year stamp and die release set. So I'm going to be using the Beautiful Day floral stamp set along with the coordinating die later on. And I'm going to do some no-line pencil colouring with this. So I'm stamping the large floral from the Beautiful Day floral stamp set onto a piece of blue cardstock. And I'm using my Wow Embossing Clear Ultra Slow Drying Ink to stamp this several times because I'm going to use this as like a watermark effect to create the no-line colouring. So the watermark will allow me to colour, to see where I need to colour, but it won't show up really at the end of the drawing. So I'm doing this just several times just to darken that colour and that mark, so it makes it easier for me to actually colour this in. Now for this I'm going to be using my Faber-Castell pencils to colour this in. I start off with the first petal adding a layer of white pencil down. Because this is dark cardstock, I thought adding the white as a base layer will allow me to add the colours on top to really brighten them up. However, I did find as I was going along and adding more colour to the flowers and the petals that I didn't really notice that much difference if I didn't add a layer of white down first. And in the end I think I stopped doing it because it was just adding extra time to colour it in. So as I said, I'm just using at the moment the white pencil just to add a base layer and also find the outline of that petal. And then I'm going to be using some pinker tones to colour the petals in. So I start adding the softer tones of pinks towards the edge of the petals where I feel the light is going to hit the petal the most. And I will go in with some darker shades towards the base of the petal. So as I get closer towards the base of the petal, I change the colour of the pencil to a bit more of a darker shade of pink. I then go back between the colours just to blend them. Now, for the first layer, I always go down quite light because I want to just add the base colour. And then I go back in between the colours and blend them. If I go down quite heavy-handed to begin with, then I can't go back and blend the colours because the tooth of the cardstock will have been so overridden by the pencil that you can't add any more and you can't blend any more. So when it comes to colouring these petals in, I found that it was best to add the darker shades towards the centre of the flower, add some darker shades where the petals overlap or the petals have a fold to them, just to give them a little bit more definition and a sort of shape to them. What I'm going to do is put some music on and allow you to watch me colour in some of the petals. I do skip to then colouring in the leaves as well, similar process later on in the card. If you want to skip where I continue making the rest of the card, just skip to 7-minute marker. for the leaves, I've done a similar process where I've added the lighter tones of green where I believe the light will be hitting the leaf, and then the darker shades where the shadows and folds of the leaves are. Just adding a bit of white as well over the top of the leaves just to add a bit of highlights to those leaves. Now, to add a little bit more extra definition to the centres of the flower, I'm going to add some heat embossing, and I'm going to use my Wow Embossing Pen just to mimic those flicks in the centre of the flowers, and then just add a few dots within the actual centre of the flowers themselves. And once I've done this, I can then cover the ink with my Wow Embossing metallic gold rich embossing powder. This just allows you to add a little bit of interest to the design by adding some heat embossing, and you can be really specific as to where you want to place it, because you can draw with that pen. It's a bullet nib rather than a brush nib, so you can get into some fine areas as well. As you can see, as I heat set this, the gold really comes alive, and it just adds a little bit more interest to those flowers and just makes the flowers look a little bit different. You're not used to seeing sort of gold centres towards flowers. To add a little bit more interest, I'm also going to do some more stamping on a piece of blue card just to add a bit of interest to the background, and I'm using that watermark effect again, and I'm repositioning the floral stamp at different points around the card and stamping this down. Now, it is harder to see on the video, but in person, in real life, when you see the card, it just adds a little bit more interest because it gives some tone on tone to that for the flowers to sit on for the background. To finish the card off, I used the coordinating die to die cut the floral image out, and then I foam mounted this onto the front of the card. So I also stamped the sentiment from the stamp set saying, "You are capable of amazing things," and I stamped this in Juniper mist onto some white card, and I trimmed this down, adding a little sort of flag end to one end, and I tucked this over the flower element just to link into with that. To add a little bit more sparkle and shine, I'm just using the new Pierre Sequin Mix from Catherine Bullard's Designs. This came out in the beautiful New Year release as well. And this is some lovely pinks and purple tones, as well as a few silver sequins in there. So I'm just scattering these around my card, using a bit of Gina K Connect glue to adhere them down. I hope you enjoyed today's card, and has also made you start to think about why not giving pencil colouring a go on darker cardstock. It can add real interest and depth and dimension to your card as well, and it's really easy to do. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe to the channel. You can hit that bell icon to be notified when my next video is up. Any products used in today's video will be listed in the description box below, or alternatively over on my blog where there's some more pictures as well. Until next time, happy crafting!